So this is kind of an off-the-cuff video that I wanted to shoot real quick because this is something that comes up in our mentorship sessions quite a bit. And I think it'd be helpful for people who are either actively working on a product or interested in working on a product for those types of people to see. And this may not make a lot of sense. The context doesn't matter. It's just the point that's trying to be made here, which is products are incredibly complex. And I say this from the perspective of setting expectations. So a lot of people that we work with, they may come into sessions or just, the initial start of the relationship. So us working with a new mentor or a new mentee to build their product. They come in with really optimistic expectations, things like really short timelines or really small budgets. So this is going to take me a month to get done, or this is going to take me 2 months to get done. And then, inevitably when that timeline isn't met, or if it's a financial thing, if that budget isn't met, their kind of motivation gets knocked down. It's like, oh, well, I didn't meet this kind of arbitrary timeline that I'd set in my head. And I didn't meet it because I hadn't kind of foreseen all of the hidden complexities of building my product. And this just kind of came into mind because right now I'm working on the scheduling system for Clever Beagle, and what I'm doing is making it so that we can support times from multiple mentors. So we're onboarding our first new mentor this coming week. And so I'm spending the weekend before kind of tidying up the system, making sure that it can support new people, more specifically working on the actual booking system. So we're switching to a new booking backend. So we use a third-party API to handle our scheduling, but we've used a third-party API to give us times and availabilities, and then we wrap them in our own UI, so it's a little more fluid experience for our customers. But the point that I want to make is that the amount of code it's taking just to get a list of time slots into the screen. And this may sound really, really trivial. It's like, oh, all you're doing is listing out dates and making them clickable, which is true. But the nuances that have come up while I'm working on this are absolutely extraordinary. So to explain that, because we're working with a third party, we're essentially at the mercy of however that third party is going to return us data. And so you can see here, I've written a module that actually goes and is responsible for fetching the initial set of data. And when I say initial set of data, all I mean by that is just the data that they're willing to give us back, or I should say able to give us back. So this code right here is simply for making HTTP requests to get those values back. And in this case, we're talking about dates and times. And so what we're trying to say is, well, give us back all of the openings that we currently have for all of our mentors in a given group. So the way that we only currently technically have one group, which is weekly mentorship, but a group would be one of the services that we offer. So in this case, we're saying the group is weekly mentorship, but we need to get all of the dates and times that we have availabilities for each of our mentors. And in order to do that, the way that their API works necessitates that we go in and we say, okay, first you have to get all of the available dates. Mind you, dates does not include times. It just means the actual days of the week that we have openings for. Once we get those dates, then we need to go back to that API and say, okay, now for each of these dates that you've given us, give us back times. Now this still sounds pretty simple, but where it starts to get complex is this third-party API has rate limiting built in, which means that I cannot just get back all of the weeks at once. So we'll say 8 weeks. I cannot get back all of the days for 8 weeks and then pass those to the API and say, give me all the times for all of the days in this group of 8 weeks, because we start bumping into the rate limit. And so we have to do weird things like here I'm chunking the initial response of days that I get into groups of 7, meaning we're only requesting 7 days at a time. And then once I get those days, then I'm having to go in and get the available times for the days. And you can see in here, this is some really technical stuff. This isn't, quick solutions. And you may think like, well, this seems a little bit messy, but I would challenge you to solve the same problem. because this took me, this is probably a month and a half in the making. I actually started this weeks ago and had to put it down because it was a lot of thinking. But this is a lot of work to get just something like this, just getting a list of times for all of the mentors on our team into a UI. And I just wanted to show kind of just like a quick preview of the amount of code that's having to go into this. And this is, I feel like most people would assume, I haven't completely, combed through it yet, but they would say like, wow, that's pretty organized and pretty clean. And you can imagine just the sheer amount of effort that has gone in just to this one process. And I'm not even done. You can see I've got a to-do list here. I'm trying to reorganize the data for all of the mentors just so that the next set of requests that we send back, because we're only doing this 1 week at a time, if we shift to a new week, we also have to be able to support fetching times for that. And so there's just an insane amount of complexity that you would never see. So you look at a UI and you say, like, oh, it's just a list of dates and times. But this is the kind of stuff that's going on behind the scenes just to make that possible. So that's it. I just wanted to share just a few minutes, just a quick, blabber, because I'm sitting here over the weekend, and it's an interesting thing when it comes to expectations and working on products, is that, you think that it's only what you see on screen, but it can go a significant number of levels deeper than that. And it's good to know when you're trying to plan out, okay, how long is this kind of thing going to take me, or how long is my idea going to take me, to think about it from this perspective. You're not going to always be able to get every little detail right. You're not always going to be able to get, you're not going to be able to extrapolate an idea out completely. You have to some extent, go and get your hands dirty and actually try and solve it. But really, before you just assume like, oh, that's going to take me 2 months, really stop and think, is that true? And try to understand how that might adjust your timelines or adjust your budget, and how you might have to account for that, and how you might strategize to make sure that, perhaps more time is available or more money is available if you actually need it.